You guys suck at art. I suck at art. Luckily, the person next to me hopefully doesn't suck at art because she's our intern, Alexandra. Hi.
Hi.
In this video, we're doing a tier list of all the genres, and we thought it would be a great idea to have one of the best artists in our team, together with by far the worst person for art in our team, and give our opinions about these art styles.
There won't be every art style, by the way. It's the ones we could think of that were like important enough. So if you're like, this specific niche art style, I'm sorry, we're not gonna sit here for 10 hours. It's the ones we like.
So Alexandra, what are we rating on?
So we're rating on how easy it is to make it, and like the flow of making it in general, and like, I don't know, vibes as well. Like, how does it feel?
All right, so how the hell am I supposed to know how hard something is to make when I can't make any of it?
Because you...
I have an outsider perspective.
Yeah, you're at the programmer side. So you can like think, how is this implemented into the game? How will it work?
Let's just dive straight in. First genre we're going to talk about is low poly. Why? Because we made Forge Industry, and Forge Industry is an S tier game, so we'll surely put this one in S tier. And also another example is Project Zomboid if you want a bit of a like lower tier game.
Good game. It's a very good game. Okay.
That's beside the point. So what do you think about this? Low poly.
So it's deceivably hard actually. In some cases, I don't know how it was with you guys, but you have to like, in low poly in a very stylized way, you have to find as much detail in it as possible. You have to really think about everything in cubes, in triangles, but still find the essence of it. I personally am a fan of low poly. I think it's very nice to look at things in an objective way and just really see, okay, what is the basis of everything? I like it a lot, but I don't know what you think of it.
I think this is probably one of the easiest art styles. I'm not just saying that because Marnix made our art, and I think it wasn't very hard. Like, I can't do what he did, by far, by the way. But like, I think this is probably one of the easiest styles to get into, at least. Because later on, we'll probably have a genre that a lot of people that are watching this think is the easiest, which I think is by far a trap. We'll talk about that one very soon. But I think for like a programmer perspective, it doesn't really matter if it's low poly or high poly. So if it's just a 3D game, whatever. Honestly, I think this is a pretty decent one. I would rate it decently high. I also think with low poly, you like, even if you don't go the stylized route with a special shader and so on, it still has you can just with colors have a certain feel of pop. I think there's a lot that can be done to make your game look unique in this style as well. Like low poly Forge Industry doesn't look like Project Zomboid.
No, but that's the difference, because Project Zomboid I think is a much more difficult style than Forge Industries, because while it is still low poly,
so it can evolve with the artist.
Yeah, it is. It's based on how you want to make low poly. So there is like, that's why I say deceivingly hard. Because if you're like, oh, I want to remake this style of Project Zomboid, I think you're gonna fall into a trap, while Forge Industries was a bit on the easier side. So I think it's like a spectrum for low poly.
Where are we putting it? Because is it easy to market, you think? Most games, like if they don't have a special feel, I think it's harder to stand out. You have any idea about that? Or you just think, I make art?
I think it just depends on the type of game you're making. Art style at the end of the day is supposed to elevate the gameplay. And while in some cases it can indeed be a good marketing tool to be like, hey, we are in low poly, we are in high poly, we have whatever. I don't think low poly is that special that it is a tool you can use for marketing, unless it's something like Minecraft, which has that specific feel, and that is what people know of it. So I think in 99% of most cases, I don't think it has any impact on the marketing. So that's why I think it's A or B, because it doesn't really impact.
I'm leaning towards the B now, because I just know what other genres are coming up, and I think it has some competition.
Okay, maybe I'm too generous. Maybe I am the nice one.
You aren't.
Okay, I'm putting it in B.
Next up is cell shading, something that I think is pretty damn beautiful. And also some examples of this, if in case you weren't aware, is for example, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, very clear example of it. Or things like Sly Cooper. I don't know, what was the subtitle? This was suggested from you?
Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time.
All right.
The PS3 specific one, not the remade one for I think PS4 or PS5.
Clearly an artist.
They're using a different type. It's still cell shading, but it's a little bit different.
What do we think about this genre? Is it easier or harder to make? Do you think it has more potential? What do you think about it?
The thing is, this cell shading was made specifically for the older consoles, because it's what it could it's what it could handle for like lighting and stuff. So I think now in the more modern times with modern lighting and modern things, I think it would be more difficult to make it. Which is why if you look at the Sly Cooper remake, it does feel different because the lighting is different. So if you really want to remake that same PS3 feeling, those old Nintendo feeling, I think it would be very difficult.
In this category, just because I'm a programmer and I don't have an artsy brain, we also include things like Breath of the Wild here.
Yes.
I mean, I'm so subjective probably, but I love the art style so much.
It is a beautiful art style.
But it's just hard to make, you mean?
Yeah, because on the Nintendo, it's Nintendo specific. Like the Switch and stuff, it's the console is made for that type of shading.
But it is harder to make, but do you also think it has more potential than a low poly? Like to stand out, to pop, for marketing?
I think so, because it's not very out there anymore. Like there's not a lot of games anymore that use cel shading because it has that low poly, it has that PS3 feel, and it's a bit older. I do feel like if you use it and you do it correctly, it could really bring in that nostalgia feeling of people. I do think there is that trap where people are gonna say, oh, it just looks like Nintendo, you're trying to rip off Nintendo or Pokemon or whatever.
I don't think anyone would see that as an insult though, no?
It is very much an insult in the art industry. That
I mean, maybe if you like the new Pokemon games, but that's not real.
Who does? Yeah. But I personally love it. I just think making it is very difficult.
What makes it hard to make? The models are very like similar, I assume, from the low poly. It's just a shading, or?
It's a little bit different. So it's a little bit more high poly than low poly, of course. But it's the texturing itself has shading in it, and it's the lighting in the scene that influences it quite a lot. Because again, in the old times, you couldn't have as much lighting in the scene. It had all be baked in. Like everything in those lighting is like it's baked in. It's there and you can't change it. Which now a lot of it is dynamic lighting. And even if, let's say in Unity, you use baked lighting, it is still gonna have some real-time effects in it because the computers and the consoles are way better now than they were before. Again, if you want to recreate that style, it's gonna take a little bit more effort to get there. But once you have it down, I think from then on it's gonna be just flow. Just the beginning stages are gonna be very difficult.
So if you had to put a rating on it, where would you put it on a spectrum?
Visually it's like an A.
Visually it's S. Super subjective. So we will not argue about this.
No, we're not gonna argue about that. I think on a technical standpoint, I think it's D or C. I'm leaning more towards D. On a technical standpoint, by the way.
It feels very wrong to put cel shading in D. C is the lowest I can go. No D by far.
Okay, but on a technical standpoint, before anyone.
Visually, it's like.
Visually, it's beautiful. So the next style we're going to talk about is voxel. So think about Minecraft, think about Cloudpunk, Cube World, Teardown, all those games. I personally don't like this style.
I agree. I think it looks cheap.
It does, except for Minecraft, which...
No, Minecraft also looks cheap. There's a reason it's like that. That's what memes about.
It just makes me think of those like old iPad games back in the day in like 2010, like those type of games. That's what makes me really think about. And I don't like it. I think it's not fun to make because it's like low poly, but with like extra little cubes everywhere. I personally don't like making it. But again, it's a personal style. I don't like how it looks.
The thing is, visually, I'm not a big fan, but that aside, I think pixel art is much harder than people give it credit for. Yeah. And now you're doing 3D pixel art, basically. Yeah. Which also sounds like a big trap, in my opinion. I don't think it has as much marketing potential as other genres, because... It
feels very childlike. I think if you make a game for like smaller children, I think voxel art is great, because it's low poly, but you can still add some funness to it.
Yeah, true.
But for older generations, anything above like a 10-year-old, I don't think it's gonna...
You probably offended half our audience.
That's fine, that's fine. If you like those games, cool, but like for marketing purposes, for getting new audience in, I don't think like a 20-year-old is gonna play a voxel game.
I think, so since I think the marketing potential is limited, since I think it's a trap to make, I would put this quite low.
I like F.
Or F. Immediately F.
Immediately F. I do not like this.
I was thinking E tier, but I can see an F. So.
But why E? Why E? Why not F?
Because someone watching here will probably write a 10,000 line comment and say why voxel is great.
Sure, but that's their opinion, like why voxel is great, and that's great. If you love voxel, like do your thing. Like I love Minecraft and everything.
I guess you have
but
a
it's
point.
just from a technical standpoint and a marketing standpoint, it is very difficult to make. And it's if I ever go into a business and they're like, we're gonna make a voxel game, I will bash my head against the wall because that sounds like a lot of work all the time.
Now you phrase it like that, I would probably like put this as one of the styles that I would do the least likely in Bite Me games, no matter if Marnix, William, you, whatever, came with the idea. I think this is probably the thing I would give the most resistance for, so I guess it's fair to put it at like the lowest point possible.
I think there's also a reason why there's not that many voxel games, because it is very difficult to make, while it does have that childlike feeling.
I think it's easy to make, but hard to make good, because I can make a cube, but...
Yeah, but it's a cube with extra cubes.
Yeah, I know.
It's...
Yeah, but it's not pretty, is what I mean. F tier, I can live without.
There you go. Okay, so the next one is my personal favorite, so I'm sorry if I'm a little biased. It's the Toon style. So think about Borderlands, like Telltale series, Bomb Rush, Cyberpunk, all of those games with the like the little outline and like the shading with the... Oh, I absolutely adore this style.
Is Guild Architect Toon?
No.
Okay.
No, because it's like Telltale is more
Yeah.
specific. It has like that specific style and like the way of making the textures and stuff.
I think it's more flat.
Yeah, it's more flat with literally like the line shading, as if it was like a drawing that they put on a 3D person. I love this style visually. I think it's very marketable because it is this outside. It is this extreme. It's not, you don't see it a lot. I've also know a lot of people that have made this style for like projects and stuff throughout the years at my school. And while it is difficult to get into because there's a lot of technical parts, of course Telltale doesn't exist anymore, so you have to look at the older things. Once you have it down, it is beautiful the way that it looks.
And what's the process to make this? Because, I mean, like I said, I'm a programmer. I'm not sure how I would even start making this. Like, what makes this style unique? Is it the shader? Is it...
So there is a shader on there as well, but in the models itself, so the models are like mid to high poly, I think. I think more mid poly. But within those, you have to think about, they put the lines and stuff on there as shading and as like debris or whatever, which you really have to think about where you're gonna put it, so it doesn't look muddy from a distance, but you can still see the detail in it. So once you have that down, once you get the technical aspects of it, I think it'll be much easier. But in the beginning, like I said in the beginning, I think every style is a little difficult in the beginning, but you really have to think about it. And if you don't have that shader down, that outline shader, it is gonna be very difficult. It also has like a lot of the Telltale games have that muddy feeling. So that like dirt feeling, like everything's dirty and everything's grimy, but everything is still crisp if you look at it closely. It's just all in the textures, which I adore.
So, do you think this is easier to market than low poly? Yes.
I think yes, but
also easier to make?
No, it is difficult to make, but I think it's more fun to make because you can have a little fun with it in the shading, in the shading, in the texturing and everything like that. So I think that's more fun than low poly. I think the trap with marketing is a lot of people are just gonna be like, you're remaking Telltale, you're not Telltale. Like a lot of people are gonna say that because I knew that it took Telltale a lot of time to make those models and to get the shading right and everything, which is why a lot of their games are they weren't coming out fast enough and they had to put too much money into it, which is why they failed because they wanted to stick to that specific style.
From what I hear, it's not a very sustainable art style then.
I think no, but also they were very perfectionist and they made a couple mistakes throughout the way. I don't know if you know like the history of
I know they went bankrupt and that they made some very fun games to watch for YouTubers play. Yeah, because their games were story-wise, if you're just playing them alone, they can be a bit boring, but if you watch somebody play it, it can be very fun, which of course it tanked the things a bit. But I guess if you make a game with that same style that is not story-like, I think it would be very marketable and it could be very fun to play and to make as well. I love making it. A lot of my friends love making it. Rating time. What do you put it?
Gosh, this is hard because it's one of my favorites. I'm immediately S, but...
Yeah, I cannot give it S by far.
I think B, because of the marketability and the fact that Telltale kind of went down with the style because of the style.
I mean, from what I hear, it's harder to make, so it goes down below low poly. But I also hear it's easier to market, so it also goes up again. So
We're not putting it in the middle.
If they are evening it out, I can live with a B.
Okay, good. We're not putting anything in the middle this time. That was my one rule. I'm refusing. I will fight this laptop away from him to not put anything in the middle.
Next up is low poly stylized. Now, this is a very broad term. You can imagine things like Team Fortress 2, very stylized already, but also things like super hot, like very basic looking, completely different looking as Team Fortress 2. Also, for those people who also love low poly stylized art, Cinti assets. They are low poly stylized. Also, if you want to buy them, we have a Unity affiliate link. Click it or something.
Plug.
What do you think about this one?
I like it, but Cinti assets are very popular. You see them everywhere. This type of style, you see it everywhere. So it's mostly in video games that were made by people that didn't have like an artist, or maybe they had like one artist and they couldn't keep up or whatever. So it is very general in indie games to see low poly stylized, especially those assets. But it is fun. It is fun to make, because most of the time you just you make a model and you just start pulling shit out. You're like, this is too detailed, and then you just end up with this like funky looking thing. I like it. I'm personally not a fan of making it. I know a couple of my friends love making low poly stylized.
The thing about this style is, I love it for Team Fortress 2, super hot. There are more examples of low poly styles working really well. But now that we also think about marketability a bit, I think the Cinti part is dragging it down a bit.
Yeah, because it's everywhere. You're not gonna stand out.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to stand out, I feel, unless you have a completely unique style, like for example
super hot, because it's all white with just red. It is low poly, but it's so unique in its style.
If you're purely grading on Cinti, I would put it quite low. Even though I love Cinti and we have used Cinti for Forge Industry a bit.
I personally think if we don't put it above or on a C, people are just gonna shoot us down. I think that's gonna happen.
But I think a good low poly stylized looks so good.
It does.
I mean, I guess it depends on what stylized thing you do.
Yeah.
You get the gist.
There's also, again, a range. In all of these styles, there's a range on how stylized and how low poly.
I mean, someone will always comment like, but this one game did so good with this genre that you put in F tier.
And there are rules around what is low poly, what is mid poly, like how many faces there are and everything, but it's mostly just about how it looks. Like you could have a low poly style with the high poly mesh. Like, I'm just not gonna say that, but it's what it looked like.
Rating time.
I'm gonna say C. I'm gonna put it next to cell shading.
I kind of like cell shading more, but then we put it in D and that's awesome.
Yeah, but we're not putting it in the middle. We can move cell shading up.
No, that's
Then we have a lot in B.
Yeah, but that's like the lamest tier list oid.
Yeah.
It's like everything is B tier, except voxel games for a reason, which is like the best way to trigger some people, I'm sure of it.
They're gonna hate us.
C, sure.
C?
Yeah.
Just because it's so general. Just because it's everywhere.
Yeah, if you do Cinti, I would probably put it lower. If you don't do Cinti, I can live with C or maybe.
Low poly is easier, but it's everywhere, so it won't stand out. Cell shading is harder, but if you do it, you will stand out. That's why they even each other out. That's why they're both in C. Next, we have high poly stylized. So think about Overwatch and Firewatch. Now, there will be some people in the comments, Overwatch is actually mid poly. No. Okay, they will probably say it. It is still high poly stylized. There's still a lot of detail in those assets.
Purely from an art style, I really love this.
I really love it as well.
Because you can really make it unique.
Yeah, you can push everything as far as you want.
Like, from that point of view, I love it. But I think this is a really hard style to make, no?
It is, because anything high poly, and even mid poly to high poly, it is hard to make because you have to spend a lot of time in it. In our school, we had an assignment where you had to like remake some models, and we had actually an artist that were there from Overwatch, and he said that he could spend on a weapon 3 to 4 months. Of course, he did work for Overwatch. What? Yeah, it was 3 to 4 months for some places.
F tier.
So, but again, this is a high company with a lot of standards, and you have to go through all of these processes. It can take a couple, like 2 weeks or something for a good, like, if you want to get like the Overwatch style, it can take quite a long time, but it is very beautiful. And depending on how you shade it, like look at Firewatch, that is beautiful.
Yeah, Firewatch is beautiful. Overwatch also beautiful in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if it takes that much time, we can't put it high because at
no.
some point I want to make money. Probably people there want to release a game.
Visually, it's very beautiful, and I think you can like find people on Fiverr to make you like a high poly model in a week.
So I think marketability is very, very good.
Very good.
I think creating it sounds like the biggest pain of my life.
Depends on how good you are at it. Like
I'm horrible at it.
I
I can't make a cube.
I think our other intern, she would be way faster at it than me because I'm trained low poly, mid poly. She's trained mid poly, high poly. So she would be much faster at it than I am. I know people, like a good friend of mine, she can make one of these models in 2 days. She can just crank them out because that's what she loves doing. It's what she's doing all day, every day. So I think it just depends on your artist and what person you are. I think for a lot of the indie game developers here, they're not gonna be able to make this alone without help from a...
Especially since like 60% or something, I don't know the exact stat, Marnix will put it on the screen somewhere. It's like just a programmer.
Yeah.
So I think this is not a good showing.
Unless you outsource it.
I mean, yeah, but if you're a bigger studio, I think this is great. But like, if you're watching this, you probably aren't. So
I don't know, was Firewatch a big studio?
There were like 6 or 7 people, I believe. There was like a GDC talk about it one day.
There's not a big studio, right?
No, it's pretty small.
They spent a long time on this game.
Yeah, but we always preach to have short dev cycles.
Yeah.
If you want to do this, do it in a short dev cycle. And that's basically impossible if you're a small team, I feel.
Yeah.
Either way, D or E?
It hurts, but
What do you think?
I think just based on the fact that it takes so long, but the marketability is so good, I'm gonna say D. What am I gonna say D? Now I'm doubting myself, because the E is calling to me as well.
I would put it E tier. I think it's
so difficult.
The largest problem with this is we haven't really talked about it for the past few ones. Like some of these are so stylized and so unique, it's hard to find pre-made assets. Like if you want to compensate for like very easy things, like some tools or props that you're like, I can just use an asset pack for this. For this genre, it does not work.
It's very pulled apart because stylized is so objective. Like honestly, to a certain point, except for the realistic ones, which we're gonna get into, they're all stylized, and you can see they're just so far apart. So depending on which style you want to get, you're gonna have to get somebody to make it for you.
E tier.
E tier. Sadly, I love Overwatch. It's my prime and joy.
Next up, very realistic games. You think super high poly games like The Last of Us that look like almost like you're in real life, or things like The Witcher. Basically every new AAA game, I guess. Or a great example is also Unrecord, which went viral because just how it looks. So I think if you have great graphics and you throw it in something like, let's be honest, not Unity, but Unreal, it can look amazing. So I think like marketability, if you do it well, you do very well.
Well, we were just talking about stylized. This is way harder.
But hear me out.
Yeah.
This is something you can get a lot of pre-made assets for because it doesn't have a unique style.
True.
So the things you have to make yourself, you can make them unique for you. Like for example, your main character or something. But like if you just want to have a light bulb, there are like 1,000 very realistic light bulbs already.
That is very true.
So it's very easy to mix and match, I feel like.
Yeah, because it is realistic. But if you think of like The Last of Us, I don't think that's very specific because it's such a fantasy world. I don't think you're gonna find assets for it. If you want to make something like CS:GO, which is just gun and people, sure, that you can find assets of that all over the world.
Is CS:GO high poly realistic?
No.
I think it looks pretty dim.
It's like mid poly realistic, but just a general, because that's just like it's just a house with people in it. Sure, you can remake that with assets, but it is gonna cost you quite a bit of money because people do want more money for things that.
I think as an indie, it's very hard to do high poly graphics. I agree, because like from what I can imagine, if I have to do 10 like things in programming, or I have to do like 10 million, I probably choose the 10, and it's easier to do. But I also think it gets like a bit of a bump just because there
are a lot of assets.
And it is probably the easiest genre out of all of them to mix and match.
But you do have to think about a lot of high poly. There is some difference in it because you can't really get that real feel as it is in real life. If you want to make it yourself, you really have to think about the uncanny valley parts of it. Because if you look at some, I don't have any games at the top of my head, but some games you look at them and you're like, this does not look like a real person. It looks like some fucking dream. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it doesn't look like anything real, it just looks like a fucking dream. Like, it doesn't look like a person. You should think about that as well, about the uncanny valley feeling. When you put all the assets together, like, does it match?
What do you feel like?
So for making it, F tier. It is very difficult to make. If you would told me like, oh, we're gonna make a realistic game, go make about 10 tables. Well, no, tables is like easy, but like 10 houses, I'd bang my head against the wall. But because there's a lot out there, I think you can get away with it by buying things. I think you're still gonna have to commission some people to make some things specific, but...
I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I would put it above low poly stylized.
Just because of the...
Just because of the assets. Like, there's a nice spot in D tier waiting for it.
There is indeed a nice spot in D tier. We're almost making the bee of Bite Me, by the way.
That would be very nice. This is the goal of every tier list now.
I'm making the bee of Bite Me. No.
I see Marnix in like the corner, like, no.
He's having fun, let him be. I get why you would want to. It hurts me to put it above stylized.
Like, I think stylized personally, I think it looks better, but just because it's
The assets, it's out there. There's a lot of them out there. I get it. I would.
like there's enough engine flip games or whatever it's called, or asset flip games. You have things like mega scans from Unreal.
True.
So you have like a ton of things that are just.
Forgot about mega scans. Forgot about those. There we go. Nice and D. So the next style we're going to be talking about is anime. Think about Danganronpa, think about Persona. We put Guild Architect on there because there are some anime-inspired things in there, and we want to talk about our game, you know, a little bit of marketing.
Are we? Have we released our Steam page by now? Okay, no. You cannot wishlist it yet, but do so soon.
We'll let you know. Join the Discord, and then you'll get a notification. Anime, it's a trap. Because it's a very, if you want to get like real anime, like anime vibes, it's a real trap.
I don't think Guild Architect looked like anime.
No, but it's inspired, and it's called marketing, Thomas.
All right, but just pretend it's anime so the weebs buy it.
No, we're gonna say it's inspired by anime.
Oh. Why is this a trap? How hard is this to make?
Anime, the style, like the drawing style of anime is very difficult. In Japan specifically, there are specific schools where people go to just learn the anime style.
But are we then talking about 2D anime?
Yes, but a lot of the games like Danganronpa and Persona, as you can see in the little...
Persona is great.
It has those like 2D drawings of the people.
Yeah, it looks like it's 2D, even though it's 3D. You mean?
No, like little when you talk to them.
Oh, yeah, the character portraits. Okay.
And then Danganronpa is just like little cutouts. There's like no 3D there. Yeah. So that's like fully anime. Also a good anime to watch, by the way, I recommend it. And a good game to play, sorry. So that's a trap, because if you really want to go for that anime style, you're gonna have to find somebody that's specific to that. Because if you have like 1,000 animes and you put them all next to each other, there's gonna be differences in every anime on the style. So it's not like you can get some asset. I mean, probably for the 3D part, you can get assets, but for the 2D part, you're gonna have to commission it or hope for a friend that used to be a weeb in middle school and can draw real good anime style, and then just kind of ask them to join the team. But for 3D, I think a lot of the assets are just like low to mid poly with like a little outline on it. So I think that's a bit easier, but like the drawing part and the making of the people, I think that's gonna be a little bit more difficult. So it's a double-edged sword.
Marketability wise, I think this is a pretty decent one as well.
It is very great. People love anime games.
All right, so rating wise, why do we always make these tier lists so hard? Because like, is it better than high poly stylized?
Yes.
Is it better than?
Yes.
Also over ultra realistic?
Yeah.
Over toon shading?
Yeah. Just because the pure marketability of it.
But you said it's hard to make.
It is. But if you have somebody...
Is it better than just low poly?
I think if you're looking at an indie standpoint, because I'm looking at an artist standpoint and like the feel of the game, I think if you find somebody that can make that style, the anime style, I think you're set. I think finding the people is gonna be a little bit hard. Again, you have people on Fiverr, you have contractors that you can have, again, friends. But once you have a style down, I think the marketability is just gonna go through the roof, because again, people love anime games. Get somebody, some like Japanese voice actor to have some like, and you're literally set, like literally, like you're gonna rack up money no matter how shit it is. No matter how simple the game is, people love anime.
So you would put it in A tier?
I would put it in A tier, just pure for the marketability.
But is it really? The marketability is, I mean, weeps have money, so they buy
Weeps
shit.
have a lot of money.
What was the second one? It was low poly in B tier N?
Toon style. That's lower because just pure to marketability, people are gonna be like, Telltale, and they did go bankrupt.
I'll just put it in A tier because we mentioned Guild Architect and we can't put ourselves lower than everything else, right? Guild Architect is going to be S tier.
I love. Sure. And I know a lot of these people are gonna be weeps and they're gonna be like, yeah, A tier. So.
Next up, pixel art. Honestly, good pixel art looks amazing. Think about Hyperlight Drifter, absolutely stunning. Or things like Stardew Valley, masterclass in pixel art.
Terraria as well.
The bummer is Songs of Everjade. No. All right, I can't say that with good conscience. But I think this is probably the biggest trap on the list.
It is.
Because it looks easy, and honestly, to make something visual that is representable of what it is also easy, but to make it look good is hella hard. This is something we experienced with Songs of Everjade. We made pixel art, we commissioned it, they made it for us, it looked alright, but still it wasn't popping enough. And even though we thought it looked alright, the first comments we get is like, it still looked like an RPG Maker game, and I think it's very hard to stand out. Also, something we experienced as well, you have a very hard vendor lock-in. We didn't notice at first, but like, there's pixel art. My tiny programmer brain can't understand this, but like you have like 16 by 16 or 32 by 32 pixels, and somehow in those pixels, people can make such different styles. It's really a big trap in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. You really think it's easy, and then you start it, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
I think this is like the easiest genre to get into because just pressing some pixels. But to do it good, it's probably one of the hardest.
Finding a good pixel artist is difficult. Also, a lot of times, these are games that are very saturated, but you have to find the balance so it doesn't just like blow your screen up. Like again, yeah, look at Stardew Valley, you can see a little thingy.
I mean, Stardew Valley pops.
It pops, but it's still, there's still a difference.
Yeah.
While it is super saturated.
Marnix will put a side-by-side from Songs of Evershade and Stardew Valley. Spot the differences.
We're gonna make him like editing, like look, like follow the hands or something.
No, he's not going to do
Not
that.
gonna track the hands?
No. Nope, he's never going to do that.
L editor. We're gonna put him on an F.
The editor or
The editor. No.
Marnix is S tier.
So about pixel art. I think it is a trap. I think marketability, if you do it good, it is there because there's not a lot of games that are good pixel art.
A lot of pixel art games, not all good games.
Yeah, but I think if it falls short, even just a little bit, people are gonna notice and it's gonna be cheap. Like it is people are gonna think it's like a cheap game.
Yeah, exactly. That also, now that you mention it, good mention, is I think a lot of people see pixel art and it immediately devalues your game because it indeed looks cheap. I think if you have another art style, except voxel, you can probably ask for more money if you make the same game. Even if it's also a 2D game and you just like hand draw everything, I think you can still ask more money if it's not pixel art.
Pixel art does have that cheap feeling. You really have to have the gameplay to boost it up, even though you've spent probably 99% of the time just on that goddamn pixel art. I would put it doesn't deserve to be next to voxel art. I despise voxel art. I'm sorry, it has its own tier in my head.
It's not F tier because...
But we're not gonna put it next to Overwatch.
I mean, we are going...
We're not putting it in the middle, no.
It's better than voxel art.
It is better than voxel art.
Then it's E tier.
But are we really gonna put it next to Overwatch? I'm so biased. We're really gonna put it next to Stylized?
Welcome to tier list, where you think in the beginning, oh, this is easy. And after you put like 5 things down, it's like, but it's better than this and worse than this. And then you end up putting things in the middle.
Objectively, I think it is like the same with like marketability and...
As voxel.
No, as Stylized, as Overwatch. With marketability, as how hard it is to make. The only difference is pixel art looks cheaper than Stylized, so people are gonna pay more for Stylized. So we're gonna do the classic thing that YouTubers do, and we're gonna be like, look, this is more E tier.
So, okay, here, so we usually just put them like above and below each other, and you just like I put it to the left.
Yeah, because it's more E tier than it is. Because you read from left to right. You read from left to right.
You put something in the middle. I explained this to Marnix once. He was like, no, put it in the middle. So you just do the same.
Yeah, but I'm correct.
So basically, this is an E+, is what Alexandra is saying.
The next style we're going to be talking about is monochromatic. Think about Limbo, plug and play, dark, I think is how you pronounce it.
Limbo looks cool.
It is cool. I think it's also in some way a trap. Because you're in one color, you have to really play with those values, and it can become too muddy. You still have to have that contrast.
You also have to draw less detail, no?
Not always.
But it's black and white.
Yeah, but you have to think about normally you can think about things with a color. Like, oh, to have more contrast here, to like show it, we're gonna have orange and green next to each other, and then you know the difference. Now you have to think if you're doing in black and white, because monochromatic isn't always black and white. You can also just put pink all over. It's still monochromatic. True. You have to think, okay, lighter and darker values, whites, and you have to think about those kind of details. Limbo, of course, is a lot of the monochromatic games are simpler because you don't have to think about the values that much.
Am I thinking too much as a programmer to think this is just 2D art and I put a black and white filter over top?
That is wrong to think about it. Like if you put a black and white filter over all of this, I think a lot of them are gonna fall flat. Like you're not gonna see the contrast. And you have to really think, like in art in general, you have to think about the contrast, but you can think about the contrast between colors and contrast between value. And once you have like a T thing, and once you have monochromatic, one of those things just falls away. So you have to think about it, which again is why a lot of monochromatic games are simple, so you don't have to think too much about it.
I see what you're saying.
Which is why if you want to learn art it's good to start drawing in black and white, so you really think about those values. Adding colors is easy. Think about the values is difficult.
How about marketability? I think this is an easy way to stand out, no?
It is an easy way to stand out, because again, there's not a lot of games out there.
But it sounds like it's also much harder to do than I imagined, because I was like, just draw something and put black and white over it.
But also I think the monochromatic ones, they kind of fall into a little category, except plug and play, which is just funny. It has this like darker, more gloomy, more gloomy, more deep meaning behind the game. You can't make like a funny haha game and then just make it black and white. So if you want to make it, you have to think about the type of game. I think it's very genre specific. And even plug and play has like a little deeper meaning behind it. But
this entire list is so hard for me because I can make none of these styles.
But think about marketability, because it's such a genre, it's a specific genre.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's great. If it's bad, you're failing.
So talk to me in like tiers now. What are you thinking about? Because I have no clue about this genre, to be honest. So I'll completely trust you, and then you say something and I'll be like, no, that's a stupid take. And
I'm leaning towards D.
You would put it over pixel art?
Because it is easier to do than pixel art.
It
is easier than pixel art.
Or at least easier to do good.
It is easier to do good than pixel art. Again, because it is quite simple. Like you can see with Limbo, it's just a little character with wide eyes. But you do have to think about the contrast and the value. I think what drags it down, I think the easiestness I would put like B. I think what drags it down is just the marketability of it.
I can live with that. I have no clue what I'm talking about, so I'll trust you on this one.
Yeah. We've put nothing in S tier, by the way.
There's still one left.
There is still one left. Do you want to talk about it?
And the last one, and maybe the least one, we'll find out soon, I guess, is 2D hand-drawn. Things like Cuphead. Absolutely stunning game. Marnix puts footage on it up now. Another example is Binding of Isaac. Okay, hear me out. Is this not monochromatic with color?
Oh my god, you've just explained drawing. What do you mean? Yes, but that's just drawing.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Like, what do you mean?
It was a stupid statement. What I mean is like, does adding the color make it harder or easier? I think it makes it harder, no?
Easier.
Easier? This is why I'm not an artist. I have to do more, but it's easier. What the hell?
Because you can create contrast with the colors. You can create interest with the colors. If you have to create interest with just one color, it's way more difficult. If you have to create interest with a lot of colors, that's way easier, because you can show like, this is green, this is red, this is whatever. And if you just have it black and white or pink, it's just gonna muddy all together because it's the same value.
I think this is also because it's basically just draw something. You can draw something in so many ways. I think this is very easy to stand out as well.
It is easy to stand
Look
out.
at Cuphead. Like, I have never seen a game that even close.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, Cuphead easy.
Oh no, Cuphead is like, I think it's a hell to make.
Hell to make, because once you have a genre, once you have a style down, you have to continue that style throughout. Something like Binding of Isaac is a little easier because it is way simpler to draw. It's like a little jiggity. Cuphead, sorry, you cannot recreate Cuphead. I don't know how long it took them to make this game, but years. Just the research alone on all of those like old-timey styles, and I think they interviewed some people about it as well, some old artists. Like this was a passion project to the max. You cannot create Cuphead, I'm sorry. But if you have an artist with a good style, even one artist or two artists that can work together, I think you'll be good. But again, it has to be a good style. People have to like it.
Yeah, like every style.
It is subjective, yeah. I know people that don't like the Cuphead style. I think marketability, huge. If you have a good style, huge. I think because it kind of falls with that like anime marketability, like people, if it's a good style, I think it's also very easy for like fan art to be made of, because you already have that drawn style. And then look at Cuphead. I mean, the amount of things that are on the internet with the Cuphead style is just huge.
What do you mean?
No, I'm not gonna go into that. But I think making it can be a little bit more difficult. But once you get in, once you know the style and you have an artist that knows the style inside out, I think the flow will just go. It'll just be about being creative with it. Because look at Cuphead.
Do you think 2D still devalues a game?
I personally don't think 2D devalues.
Yeah, but okay, maybe. But do you think people think that it devalues a game? Because a lot of games are now 3D, open world, whatever, and almost no big studios are making 2D games still. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because it looks pretty, and then they can show off their console and look at what we can, look how realistic we can make things. But I know, and personally I am a person like that, I miss those like stylized 2D, 3D games. That's personally me. And I know a lot of people do. They're like, okay, cool, Red Dead Redemption, beautiful game, fun gameplay, but like, sometimes I just want a game. I don't want to, like, if I want to run around, I'll just go outside. Give me something to shoot at for like fun. That's why GTA kind of falls into that same thing, but you can just do so much in GTA. There's so many missions, like it kind of falls out of the boat. But I know that a lot of people miss those, like, the time when AAA games were fun and just out there, and you could just see it was just one producer who was like, you know what, we're just gonna fuck around and find out. And then you created a game that people still play to this day.
Yeah, I think it's better to stand the test of time. Yeah. But I also, from what I heard from you at least, you would put it very high.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I would put it somewhere in the middle.
No, I would put it
C or B.
A or S tier, I think.
C or B.
Because, like you said, stand the thing of time. Like, if you look at some older, realistic games of like 5 years ago, you look at them now and you're like, this looks like dog shit. It doesn't age well.
Yeah, because it doesn't evolve. But I agree that it stands the test of time.
In Cuphead, you could play within 20 years and still be just as good, because it's just the art style isn't realistic, so it stays good.
B tier, best I can do.
Really? You're gonna put anime as the highest one?
That's also a mistake. God damn it.
I'll be fine to put it next to anime. Again, marketability, the way it looks, the way it evolves.
I still think people pay more for 3D games than 2D games, and just because of that, it sounds like bad advice to say just 2D games is one of the best things you can do.
Okay, we're not talking about making 2D games. We're talking about the style and the marketability.
Yeah, but if you make 2D art, you make 2D games, right? Like Hollow Knight, for example, it's like...
I mean, no, think about Danganronpa. Danganronpa is 2.5D. 2.5D, 3D. Paper Mario is 2.5D. And that is 2D, that's 2D mixed with 3D. You can do that. It's just to say the marketability of a 2D game, of a hand-drawn game, not a 2D, a hand-drawn game. If the style is good, it can go a long way. And people, if it's a good game and the style is good, people can play it for years to come.
Let's rate it. Right, so you were saying something like S or A. I was thinking B.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with it?
Compare it to the things that are already on there.
Yeah, so it's worse than low poly in my opinion.
But why?
I still think 2D, even though I don't agree with the statement, devalues your game.
I think that's like the difference between an artist and a programmer, or somebody that doesn't know art. Because when I see a 2D game and it's made well, I'm more inclined to buy it just because I know, like, because I love the style and I want to see what it does with it. While you guys, I don't really think about it like that, and just like, oh, 2D. I just look at a game, I think, oh, it looks pretty. Yeah.
That's it.
Like, I've never played Cuphead. I bought Cuphead just because I'm like, I want to support the artist. I know how much time went into this shit.
How many people are there like you think?
All the artists, I think. A lot of artists think like this.
All right, then A tier is the best I can do, just because people buy it and will not play your game from what I hear. No,
but that's just me. I tried playing it, I sucked ass, and I'm a rage quitter at heart. If I don't pick up a game within the first 2 minutes, never playing it again. You know, GTA 5, I have like 20 minutes in that game. GTA 4, I have like 5. Yeah, 5.
It's not S tier. I cannot give you that. A tier is already stretching it, but I can live with it.
If you think that it devalues your game, you're probably gonna think like 90% of the gamers out there.
B tier then.
But you said it was lower than low poly.
But yeah, you said something like the more to the right, the better it was. So it's more B tier. No, wait. It's worse than low poly, but it's better than the things we put below it. It's like the worst of the B tier.
Okay. The worst of the B tier, so it's more B tier.
It's more B tier.
More B tier, there we go. We put nothing in S tier because art is subjective, people.
There's no such thing as the perfect art, apparently.
There is such thing as the worst art, and that's Voxel. I will die on this hill. I'm sorry to the person that commented.
Anyway, that about wraps up our tier list. Let us know in the comments how trash it is, why our opinions suck, and why you maybe agree with some of our statements.
And where would you put everything? Let us know. Maybe you have like a good argument about things.
Yeah, Voxel S tier. Alexandra will fight you in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to discuss this in person with other people, go to our Discord, whatever. Just leave me out of it. I suck at art. Thanks for watching. See you in the next time, and bye.